Good afternoon all. Coach Russ here from the White Coach. Hope you're doing well and hope you had a good weekend. It's Monday and Monday usually means one thing for a lot of people. It usually means time to jump on the scales and see how well you've done over the previous week. Because a lot of people weigh once a week, a lot of people weigh themselves on a Monday. And I'm going to suggest to you that perhaps Monday isn't the best day for you weighing, depending on what your food's been like in the previous week. So let me give you an amazing example. Me, I'm looking after my food at the moment. I'm making sure I'm eating the right sort of thing and trying to lose a bit of fat still, which just won't go. So I'm pretty knowledgeable. I understand my weight at the moment. I know where I'm at, give or take a pound here or there. And I know the difference I'm making by controlling my calorie intake. So how does that affect my weight on the scales this morning? So after the last 3 days, the weekend and Friday, I've had a bit of a splurge. I've been looking after myself for the last, 3 months, eating generally quite well. Had a bit of a blowout over the weekend, and that involved all sorts of foods which may not be within my calorie allowance, i.e. I overate. So let's put a couple of things into perspective to explain why my weight on the scales this morning was so out of kilter. To put on 1 pound of fat, you need to overeat by 3,500 calories. Overeat. So if you allow 2,000 calories in a day, to put on 1 pound of fat, you need to eat 5,500 calories. That's some going. To put on 2 pounds of fat, 7,000 calories. Now, if I told you I put on 5 pounds of weight, I'll be careful what I say here, 5 pounds of weight since last Monday, that means in theory, if it was fat, I've eaten 5 times 3,500, which quick maths tells me is 17,500 extra calories in the last week. Well, I'll tell you for something, that's bloody impossible almost, because I know generally my food is on point. Especially Monday to Friday, my food was really hot last week until about Friday lunchtime. I was bang on. When I say bang on, I mean I was under my allowance. So that means not only did I use up my allowance, I've also added another 70. So I've added about 20,000 calories in the last week to be able to put on 5 pounds of fat. And I know that's not right. So where is it? Where's that 5 pound come from? Why are the scales looking so large this morning when I saw that extra 5 pound? Well, it's quite simply, it's water. And let me explain why water is so important. My weekend has been mainly about carbohydrates. Lots of carbohydrates, which range from alcohol to fish and chips to cake. Can't think what else I've had. But things which I wouldn't normally have, a couple of sandwiches, I've just let go this weekend, knowing that I'm actually on track. And what happens is when you consume carbohydrates, they need water to process them. So for every 1 gram of carbohydrate, it takes about 4 to 5 grams of water to process that carbohydrate and get it through the body. So that means all that extra water is adding weight. So if you have a very carb-heavy diet at the moment, you're retaining a lot of water. So I know the scales this morning were all about water. I probably put on a pound or so last week, probably. Nothing I can't lose in a couple of days, literally in a couple of days. But I put on a pound or so of fat, not 5 pounds of fat. So when you have something which is very carb-heavy, you're going to retain more water. And water weighs, everything weighs, whatever it is, it weighs. So when you jump on the scales and you see a figure which you're not expecting, think about what you've had in the last couple of days. If you're weighing yourself daily, which is what I highly recommend, if you want to know why, look back through my YouTube videos and find the answer. If you can't find it, let me know, I'll send you the link. If you are not weighing daily, and you should if you have a goal to reach, and you just weigh yourself once a week, and the once a week is on a Monday, and the Monday is after a weekend of excess carbohydrates, the figure's going to be skewed. Simple as. So, carbohydrates, 1 gram of carbohydrate equals, or you need about 4 to 5 grams of carbs, of water to process that. So it's just water weight when you jump on the scales. So out of my 5 pound extra on the scales this morning, I know 3 or 4 of them water weight, which means now I'm eating how I want to be today and tomorrow as I will for the rest of the week. I'll lose that water pretty damn quickly through workouts and through not consuming excess carbs, because I don't generally have a very carb-heavy diet. I hope that helps. I hope you make understand why you shouldn't worry about the scales too much. And if you are worried about them, think about your recent food intake and what made it up to affect the scales so much. And if you're still confused, drop me a message. I'll help you work out your calories, your water, your carbs, and work out how often you should be stepping on the scales to lose the fat you want to lose. I hope you have a great Monday. Enjoy yourself. But for now, Russ Boy, out.